Welcome to the Vast Mind Open Soul podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first episode. I'm Dylan Griffin, and I'm joined with
Hunter Drake.
and we're so excited to be your official host of the Vast Mind Open Soul podcast. And throughout this podcast, we're kind of going to be talking about growing in your mind and growing beyond it into kind of spirituality, right?
Yes, sir.
But
And we really are looking forward to creating this community, right? We want to be able to connect with others, grow, and really just learn from each other. There's so much that we can have and offer, and just how much community and just creativity can come from one another. And that's what me and Dylan's main goal and purpose is here, is to just live life to its fullest, really do things out of love, really
Absolutely.
do things that fuel the soul, not so much a materialistic kind of style. We're using social media hopefully to get out to you guys and have others be open up to that, and maybe feel this connection that you don't usually get. So we're kind of just trying to build something beautiful here. And I know it's been done here and it's been done there, but there's never enough of it, I would like to
Yeah.
think.
Well, but I just think we've put so much love, so much dreams, and so much hard work into this. And to just be able to really kind of share our experiences, hear from you guys, and just build a strong sense of community where we can all lift each other up, right? Be able to have a safe place. Because I know it's very difficult sometimes to find somebody to talk about Christianity with, or find somebody to talk about spirituality with, or somebody to talk about just mental health in general, or
Mm.
all of these different things. It's so difficult to find somebody who can actually kind of relate to you, or
Yep.
who actually want to grow with you. And so that's kind of what we're trying to offer, right?
Yes,
Just
sir.
talk to each other. We learn a lot always talking to each other. Hopefully you guys can pick up on some of that just by listening to our conversation. And we also want to get some of you guys involved, right? We have a Gmail, which is vastmindOpenSoul@gmail.com, all lowercase, where we would love to hear from you guys. Reach out, give us feedback, how much you hate the show, how much you love the show. Let us know what you think you can contribute on, just ideas that you have, or something that might maybe even enlighten somebody or awaken somebody, and all of that. We're all looking to hear. We want to have you get some of you guys on that podcast, really opening up, and we just want to build this community up.
Yes, sir. And it's something so awesome, so profound, and it really gets me and him excited. We put it in this time, and then the day came, and we're like, whew, so hyped, so thrilled.
Mhm.
It's genuinely awesome. With that being said, we'd like to get into the overall theme, the bridge of the video. It's gonna be we're mainly speaking about individuality, right? So,
Cool.
what creates a person,
Mm.
who that person is, how they become who they are,
Yeah.
main keys and lessons that we've personally learned, as well as learned from others or noticed in society. And as well with that, we added in a little bit of mentality aspect, how you grow from these such experiences,
Mhm.
and into your brain and into your mental state, and how sometimes you can think of things one day and sometimes you can think of things differently another day.
Yeah.
And as well, we like to dive into spirituality. We are vast mind, open soul, so we like to open our soul up. We
Absolutely.
really like to, include some spirituality. There's no judgment here. We kind of just we are open to many different things.
Mhm.
Dylan here, he's very Christian. Me, I'm also very Christian. I like to more of consider myself a follower of Christ, and I take part in other spiritual teachings and kind of understand other esoteric understandings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that it's very important that we start an individuality, because it's such a core thing that in order to know how to grow as a person and how to grow as a spirit, and just kind of know what to look for in the future for growth, is you need to understand what you're growing from and kind of what led you to be where you are today, right? Everybody has made mistakes along the way. How have those mistakes kind of impacted you? How have you handled the hardships, and how has that impacted you? All things like that is what we're going to look into, to just kind of see what forms who you are and how can you grow from that, because knowing who you are and how you got there is really going to help you understand what we're going to get into in future episodes, which is really just focusing on growth and ideas, and more just, I guess, specific ideas
Yeah,
on growing.
sometimes, dude, we like learn what to talk about, or like we add something new in during the podcast, and we didn't even know we were going to talk about that, but it kind of just flows in naturally. And then we're like, oh wow, we'll talk after the podcast, and we'll be like, this is something that we really like impacted us and benefited us as well.
Mm,
And when we talk about individuality, some people, they have like a lack of self in them, like they
mm,
they don't really know who they are. They feel kind of lost. And then you have people who are over identified with that self,
mhm.
and they kind of like take this whole persona, and then they hurt people in the process, or they hurt themselves overall. And what we kind of want to talk about is finding that balance,
Yeah,
and what kind of led to that state as well,
mm,
how you created your individual self. So
yeah,
and go like me and Dylan personally, we've been through our fair share of experiences and our tribulations and our troubles and our hardships, right? So me, I've struggled a lot, and what I've come to learn is that it's really about like moving on and like really pushing through. And these hardships are what kind of shape you, right?
yeah.
And from my understanding is that you really have to experience such things in order to grow. And I'm actually very grateful that I have to go through things, because when I go through such painful experiences, it allows for the opportunity for growth.
Mm,
Don't talk often about you can't have light without darkness. Some might want to try to argue that, but if there was only light, you wouldn't know what dark was.
yeah, you
Or
could
if
just
there
see
was
the
only
opposite.
dark, you wouldn't know what light was. So you have to have two polarities. There's water and fire. There's literally there's 1,000 other polarities. There's light and dark,
Mhm,
there's black and white. It's there's just so many different things,
yeah.
and the world has certain structures, and we gotta discover and learn and talk. There's gonna be so much to talk about in future episodes as well.
And I definitely think if we're starting off on like the main thing that makes who you are is your experiences, but more specifically on your experiences and is your hardships, right? And I definitely think that you have to be careful when you're thinking about this is you're not made of your hardships. You're made of what you made of them. Does that make any sense?
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're kind of saying like, you're not. It's not the bad experiences that
Yes.
actually crafted you.
Yes.
It's what came from the bad experiences. So like
Yes.
the process following, and what occurred in your mind, like the chemical reaction, and all that.
And I even think, I mean, if you're looking at somebody who forms themselves on just purely the bad experiences, then you kind of get that victim mentality, right?
Yeah.
Because this happened to me, I'm a survivor of this,
Hmm.
and I survived this, so I'm just going to keep talking about this. And now there is a lot of
Nobody
people that,
understands me.
yeah, I mean, there is a lot of times that you are legitimately a victim, and there are sometimes that
Yeah.
people might legitimately not understand you. But I think it's very critical that you look past just being a survivor and learning to not only survive, but to thrive, right?
Yeah,
So if
definitely.
I,
I feel like honestly, Dylan, you've had a very good example of having to have a very sensitive experience that transformed from being in a victim mentality
mm,
into like actually growing from that. And you kind of got both sides,
yeah.
and you get to analyze, and that's where I find some value in your personal experiences too. That kind of taught me a little something.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the hardships throughout my life, I almost want to say they were kind of shared in a sense between me and my mom because I mean, my mom was like really looking after me and she was hurting to see that I was hurting. And so whenever people would or whenever people would talk to me about like, oh, that must have sucked when you went through A or that must have sucked when you went through B, stuff like that, I used to think that like, oh no, it did suck. And I'm liking this attention that it's getting me.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna ride in it. And I kept on kind of doing that until I eventually learned that me allowing these experiences to affect me the way that they were was only actually making it more negative for me, right? It turned a negative experience into a negative life. And so then I learned, okay, how can I push past this and how can I really turn this, I mean, just into gold, right?
Hmm.
Pressure makes diamonds. And so I really,
Transmutation.
yeah, is that what it's called?
As base metal and gold, yeah, transmutation.
Interesting. But
It's sacred alchemy.
all right, sweet.
Yeah,
Learn something new every day.
me and Dylan, we're great for each other. Calm down now. Come on, dude. Uh, all right, apologize.
It sounded really weird. But, yeah, but a lot of those experiences were kind of shared between me and my mom, and then there got to a point where I really kind of focused on personal growth because I thought, "I need to change, I need to grow. This isn't working for me, so something needs to change." And I looked beyond the pain, and I really saw light behind it, and it was actually in the worst week of my life where I was going through really the just absolute hell, is I actually got baptized,
Yeah,
and then
so awesome.
yeah. And, later on, we actually had to move because of the situation I was going through. I mean, it was just a really rough spot to be in. But eventually, this was about a year ago, I would say now. My mom just recently kind of went up to me and said, "Oh, by the way, now that we finally like moved away, I think it's time that we stop surviving and we're ready to thrive." And I was like, "Mom, I don't know if you realize, but we have actually been thriving. If you looked at how you were before the experiences that we've
Mhm,
had, or like
mhm,
before these events that I went through, then you would have actually been excited to see how you would have became. You wouldn't have been like, I guess, scared of the events to come, but you would be excited for the results that's going to give. And then you would actually be excited to experience those things because you're going to grow as a person and it's just going to be an overall beautiful thing. So it's like, you need to realize that you've been thriving because you've been
yeah.
growing. Either
And I
knowingly
think
or not.
honestly, it's hard for people to get to that level of being able to thrive. And sometimes it looks like they might be thriving and they can really be suffering deep down. You have the happiest people in the world, the most rich, most successful in, societal perspective, and they're the most hurt. They usually try to, commit suicide. I know
Mhm,
that's sensitive, but
mhm,
like they you lose the value of life when you start living for the world. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of like a certain paradox. But what your body feels and what it gets fulfilled from
mhm,
isn't what is genuinely fulfilling to your soul. It's not as energizing. It's
mhm,
not like great. The type of things that fuel your soul and your body, stuff like working out, like going on runs, swimming in water, just doing things that are just really amazing and bright. And you really get to connect with the earth, right? So
absolutely.
like for when it comes to certain aspects of hardships and pushing through those, I think you got to be able to like something has to change like
Mhm,
chemically as well because it's becomes engraved in your brain. Um, the aspect of suffering and that you can almost become comfortable at it sometimes, and like it's like a safe place,
mhm,
and people never like to admit that, but I can because sometimes it's easier for me to sit back and just not do anything and feel like I'm the one who is the victim to things, right? Like
mhm.
if it's happening to me and I'm just um the one it's occurring to, I'm forgetting how to
Yeah.
correctly explain it, but then it's like easier. You don't have to do much, right? You don't
Oh,
actively engage.
yeah.
You don't have to be the one to fix it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's the
But
easy
you
way
have to
out.
take that responsibility and man, let me tell you, it's always a battle, and you really gotta try, and you really gotta push, and you never know when or how you're gonna make it through.
Right. And do you mean when you say chemically, are you referring to like just kind of things out of your reach, like things that you can control? Or
No, I honestly, when I say chemically, I think I'm actually positive that you are able to chemically change your brain by the way you think.
hmm,
Your mind is such a powerful thing that you can create chemical changes. Obviously, you can't instantaneously be like, you know what, I'm gonna make this chemical change. I'm gonna create some
yeah.
like, so I'm not, some chemist, right? You're not actually doing that. But what you're doing is you're making slight changes in thought because when you do change your thoughts, when you think sad, you release certain chemicals in your brain. When you're happy, you release certain chemicals. When you convince yourself that you are something, and when you tell yourself enough, and when you really genuinely feel it, and like you let it go to your body, and it becomes something
Mhm.
that's energetic rather than just like a false belief, and you're just telling yourself that, but you're really still sad, you can create chemical changes. And I think that's where you start to fix your body as well, because your body can have certain addictions to things, even if in your head you don't necessarily. And that's where people get stuck.
So are you talking about like if you have the mindset to kind of push through the hardships, you can really create that chemical change to grow?
Yes, and I'm not saying at all that it is easy because it is a very difficult process that I still personally struggle with, and I'm constantly trying to reprogram myself because of the kind of bad habits that I've created, and like whether it's something as simple as being on my phone and having high screen time,
Yeah.
and what that does for me is it makes me feel poorly about myself because I'm not constantly improving and I'm not doing something productive.
Mhm.
And when I start to push myself and do something that I don't want to do, which is I it's so much easier to just chill on TikTok and scroll, get a hit of dopamine, get a hit of dopamine,
Yeah.
maybe go to a party, smoke and drink. That's all fun, right? That makes your body feel really good. But it's more fulfilling to me in the long run, and even I get a greater sense of accomplishment doing something when it's like, for example, creating this podcast. Like, it's such a great high, just a sense of sitting down in these seats and knowing that we've got to this point. It was so fulfilling, as I hope you could agree.
Yeah.
And if I finish a book or I read a couple of chapters or I'm able to share some knowledge with someone, even that is so fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it honestly helps me to push through as well.
Yeah, and I even say the best high is the one you can't buy, right?
Amen.
So you go out and you buy drugs or you go out and you buy a whatever. The best high is the personal growth and like the
Mhm.
you actually being able to like say, I know sitting down reading the Bible, I always get a great sense of just achievement and just, I mean, purity, right? That comes
Mm,
out of it. And even in my darkest moments, being able to read the Bible, I felt none of that pain. And I can actually relate this to, I had a youth camp that I went to,
mm,
and, the service was, I mean, absolutely amazing. At the end of the service, it was a once in a lifetime thing where the entire chapel, everybody was down to their knees crying.
mm.
The pastor, he was crying.
It's
Everybody was
beautiful.
crying, and I was looking around the room, and I wasn't exactly crying myself because I felt like I already have had my, experience, but I definitely could have. But, I don't know why. I think it was more enlightening for me to not cry because I kind of looked around the room and I saw how beautiful it was. And it was just, I mean, like I felt really moved by it. And I was just kind of able to see that it's like, I don't even know, just the beauty of it,
It was like
right?
piercing through you. Their
Yeah.
cup was just overflowing,
Yeah.
and you were getting a sense of what they were experiencing
Yeah.
almost. You could feel it like
Absolutely.
surrounding you because when you have such kind of experiences in
Mm.
such a mass number, it creates like a huge, huge field. When you talk about energy and stuff, it's
Mhm.
it's it's something beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, in that moment, I felt no pain. I was thinking to myself, I was like, "Wow, this must be what heaven feels like, right?" I was like, this is so beautiful." And it's like I don't even want to say that it's like I want to savor this moment because I was just living in it, right? And I was just flowing. And I mean, I've had a few moments in my life that were like that, and all of them I value so much because they're just truly so beautiful.
Yeah, and that's awesome, dude. Me, I haven't had too many like experiences in a mass number like that where you have the whole church like getting down on their knees and just feeling like that kind of fulfilledness, but I've had more like a smaller group or at least individually as well. um One of my best friends who I consider a brother to me and him had a very very deep experience where we're we're sitting in his RV, and we just we were praying and just preaching to each other, and we got just such a profound experience, and it was like just exactly how you
Mhm.
talked about. Like my body just felt so enlightened, so amazing, so blissful, full of joy and love. It was just amazing. I've had that also on my own, not exactly with God and the Bible, but through certain meditative states, and it's just as fulfilling and amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But even throughout all of those experiences, I find it kind of ironic that all of them, at least for me personally, were in some of the hardest parts of my life.
Yes.
And I mean, I could recall one that was in, I guess, a good moment, like a good part of my life. But I mean, all of them, it really basically all of them were when I was struggling the most, and it just kind of enlightened me and I guess gave me a little push towards righteousness and like towards the light. And it was like every single time it's just so enlightening of like I can't live my life this way anymore. I need to
Mhm.
change. And there's been a few enlightenments like that I've had in my life. And every single time it just I grow so much as a person. And it's just whenever I sit down and I really reflect and I get to think about like my life, how I got here and where I
Right.
want to be, it's just I realize I need change
Yeah.
and I continue with a powerful mindset and I just push and push and push through, and, I mean, I always end up growing immensely.
It's kinda interesting how, like, in those specific moments where you're, like, just so enlightened, so fulfilled, so awakened,
Mhm.
and even if it's in a time of pain and suffering, and you're saying how it's like that's when you felt the best sometimes is
Yeah.
and so, like, just words are not the best describing feelings
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're ineffable, right? You
Mhm.
can't really describe them, and, but for sure, I would like to say, that when you're going through these extremely energetic things,
Mhm.
your body is it booming, and sometimes it's overwhelming. And
Mhm.
for me, I I would like just sometimes I'd burst out in tears
Yeah,
and
I've
like
had a few times where it's
joyful
the
tears
same.
as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and even though you're in a sad time, that moment it's like you forget anything else exists.
I mean, it's a moment of perfect purity, right?
Yeah.
But I wanna ask you,
Mhm.
throughout the hardest parts of your life, before you got to the light, right? When you were in actually, like, the really hard parts, what allowed you to push through and to persevere in order to get to a state where it was actually, like, safe for you to self-reflect or safe for you to experience those things where, like, if you know you have to experience the darkness to
Yeah.
experience the light. Like, what pushed you to know that it's like eventually I'll get there or like how much more am I gonna put up? That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Drove you.
So I was kind of told like I get to like kind of make up how I think. I was
Mm,
told, you know, you're not really the victim. It's just your mind, that
mm,
kind of thing. Like, I get certain names called and stuff like that. And that was kind of like in my system, right? And kind of was told it wasn't real.
mhm,
Um, and so I was around that kind of environment, and then I was kind of told that you got to be tough, you got to be
mhm.
strong, you got to be hard, especially as guys. We have to have this character, and it's almost
Well,
that
I
because
mean, not necessarily, I think.
usually depicted in society, I would say that we kind of have some expectations of us, but you know, it's okay to not be like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a lot of societal, like, I guess, norms, but I mean, none of those make up who you are as a person, right? I think
No,
you need
definitely
to be.
not, but it can apply. I feel like it can apply to some people's lives. Like if you have a dad who's more of a tough guy, if you have a dad who's not as much, you kind of shapes because your environment does shape who you are. I know you kind of agree with me on that.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely think your upbringing and how you like the environment that you grew up around is definitely a foundation to who you are. But I also think as you become more of an own, like your own individual and more unique, then you start to associate yourself with people that you want to be, right?
yeah.
That kind of a thing, you know what I mean? Or like people that
Mhm.
could not necessarily want to be, but people that could lift you up instead of like hanging out with people that are only going to bring you down, right?
Sometimes people are naturally attracted to that.
Well,
Have you
yes.
ever noticed that? So sometimes people will associate themselves with someone who really is actually
Mhm,
really bad for them, and maybe it's like that energetic pull to cause them to realize, so they suffer more,
mhm.
and then you wake up because we like to talk about suffering and how it brings growth,
Yeah.
and maybe it's something like that where it really does pull someone energetically. And I was saying a minute ago, you asked me a question about how I what was it how I
I don't really remember.
it's okay, sorry about that, guys. um I would like to say though, definitely, um, how I grew was
Oh, that's what
sometimes
how
people,
you persevered.
yeah,
Mm,
definitely. And some people, they they have help from others.
mm,
Sometimes people don't have help from others.
mm.
Me, I was lucky enough to have a couple individuals who kind of shaped who I was and like added to the process.
Yeah,
Dylan's like one of those people for me right now. He's adding to my process. He's allowing me to grow as well, and I can never be more grateful. But I've had other
likewise.
people, yeah, I've had people as well that weren't just Dylan, but it was kinda sometimes I guess I did my research on some things, and I was kinda, like, pulled towards spirituality, which spirituality kinda really guided my life, as well as that kinda, like, stay tough mentality, like David Goggins kinda thing, where you're like, carry the boats, you gotta be strong, you gotta really push through. I was just an athletic kid growing up, so it was I don't know, there's so much to it.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I should do some more reflection now that I think about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely think that there's a lot of times that I forget to do reflection or when I'm in the moment of a hardship or a moment of a, I guess, like maybe you could even say like a temptation that
Mhm.
it's like my mind doesn't fully go towards how can I grow as a person, but it just kind of goes in the moment. And then it's afterwards that I reflect on it. And I definitely think that being able to push through to place where you can self reflect is important, but it's also kinda in the moment, you need to know how to push through to it, and so, I definitely know one of the things that drove me when like, my mind did go there on how can I push through this is, a few pa or parts of the Bible. One of them I talk a lot about, it's Romans 5:2-5. It's about valuing in your hardships because in your hardships, it produces, perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And we value in that because it was given to us by the Holy Spirit. And the other one was actually, um, I think it was don't be surprised when your brothers turn on you. It was something like that,
Mhm.
or when the whole world turns on you. I can't give an exact quote for that, but both of those were actually times that I was in a moment of struggle and I opened up my Bible to a random page, put my finger down, and that's what it read. And I mean, when I'm going through a hardship, I'm like, speak to me, God. And I point to that Romans 5:3-5. It was beautiful, right?
Yeah, I know definitely it does talk on the Bible on how, when you have such said experiences and you look in the Bible, it says Jesus, when he was being persecuted,
Mhm.
that that's something that he had to be dealt. And if you're going through the same experiences, you're following in his footsteps. And that means you are doing as the Lord has asked of you to do as Jesus did.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, being Christian is no easy path,
Mm.
right? It's very challenging. I think that's something that, I mean, a lot of people understand, but I mean, it's really true. So that's where, whenever I was going through something really hard, I would tell myself, okay, don't be afraid or don't be surprised when the world turns on you. And like push through because I know this is only going to build my character. And then I did get excited about it, as I was saying earlier, with like how I would look, like if I would have looked back, I would have been excited. I started to kind of get my fire flew, or like, and then when
You
it flew, it doesn't make any sense. My fire grew.
Oh,
It's a
you're gonna say, like, fueled and grew, huh? Yeah, so it's like that. That happens to me all the time.
and so when I was in the moment, it was just, I mean, I really kinda got passionate, and before I read that verse, it was kinda like, "Oh, another bad thing," like, I don't even care at this point. There's so much that's like, I feel like my world is already, like, crumbling that what's another block on, like, a crumbling tower of Jenga, right? And now I was thinking, "Okay, now that there's another hardship, there's another opportunity to grow.
Yeah,
So how can I grow?" And
that's
then
amazing.
I grew. Like, I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't have that mindset. And I mean, of course, I have room for improvement. I'm nowhere near perfect, but if I hadn't looked towards growth in that moment, I would have never came back to Christ. I would have never been anywhere near a person who I was today, and for that, I'm
Mm.
forever thankful for valuing in those, hardships. So
So, where do you think you've become mentally since all that?
Mentally, I would say I'm I'm just driven. Like, I always feel like I'm just like a bird kind of, you know?
Mhm.
Like, whenever I'm
Really,
if I'm like driving or something and something good just happened to me, then I would just say to myself, I'm like, "Man, I'm like a bird." You know what I mean? Or
it's awesome.
if I felt like I was getting held down by something, I would say, "I wish I could fly." You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And so just kind of having that mindset that it's like there's nothing holding me down, so I'm just gonna fly on. You know what I mean? And so throughout every hardship, throughout every good thing, like I always value in the beautiful things because they're beautiful, right? And the things that are not no good or bad, then I even value in those because I get to live. And the hardships I value in those because not only do I get to live, but I get to grow. And so it's just
Definitely.
I
You know,
thrive.
for me, I kind of feel like I don't know. I want to say I'm like kind of like gravity, or in a sense, or like a rock, because I feel like I have this pull towards always going towards the direction that I want to go, like deep down in my soul, in my entire being, the kind of things that I strive for, that I love, that I don't always pursue. I feel like I have an energetic pull towards it,
Mhm,
like as if I'm being almost dragged, my spirit's being dragged,
mhm,
but I'm resisting, like maybe there's a mountain in the way,
mhm,
and you can't get there, but when you do things that can help in the process and aid, you're not just relying on something externally. You start to work internally. And when you start to work internally, things start to occur externally.
yeah.
And people try to act like it's external that comes first and then it's internal. It's really internal and then external. And man, that's a lot of that is introduced into spirituality.
And I've definitely noticed that it's like, when you're saying it's not external, but it's or first, it's internal first. I've definitely noticed moments in my life where an external experience influenced me to reflect internally
Mhm.
and then was reinforced by another external experience.
I
You know what I
got you.
mean?
I got
So it wasn't exactly internal then external. It was like external, internal, external, and then might even return back to internal. You know what I mean? It just kind
you.
of
Yeah,
goes back and forth.
definitely.
But if you focus on an event that happened to you, external, 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 you don't grow.
Yeah.
If you focus on just how you can grow, how you can grow, how you can grow constantly, but not taking action or not actually applying it to any experiences, you're not going to grow. You
That's
need to focus on how you can grow your mindset, the experiences you have, kind of going back and forth.
You have to have both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really a balance in
yeah.
between, as we were saying at the
Balance is
beginning,
so
right?
important. Balance is so important in absolutely every aspect of your
Mhm.
life. And using your mind is just it's something else. It's something that we can like constantly talk about. There's so much to just consider, and people can think in many different ways, and we're all unique. We all have our own life, our own foundation. We've all created this own structure. We've all came from something just all have different appearances,
Yeah.
different insides, like everything. And yet we're 99% the same when it comes to DNA and stuff. So like what the heck? What is the differences? Like this is where individuality
What
comes into play.
what makes you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you were to say yourself, how would you say like what makes you?
What makes me?
Yeah.
I mean, in like a general understanding,
I
or
mean,
like
just
maybe specific, or what do you think?
like what makes who you are today and what makes your spirit how it is today.
I definitely say my experiences and the things that I've been through, um, those are really the most profound. I feel like spirituality carries me the furthest,
Yeah.
because it's to me it's our truest essence.
Mhm,
It's much more farther beyond the physical world. To me there's much more levels,
mhm,
and that kind of guides me. I don't know if you guys can tell, but all these books around me, they're all my books. I like to read, and there's, I'd say, about
most of them
98,
looking around are all around like tree of growth and
well, yeah,
whatnot.
98% of them are
There.
about investment. You got the tree of, or it's a bonsai tree with the all the different chakra colors, and it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And then I mean, I have a thing for art as well. So like creativity fuels me. Reading and gaining knowledge fuels me. Loving others and doing acts of giving and caring fuels me. Like that's what really creates who I am. And um, people may disagree. You know, there's always someone in your past or in your future to come who's gonna think they know you, but the only one who really can know you is you. Not even your parents can know you the best. Not even your friends can know you the best. You can get someone can begin to understand you a little bit better. You can tell them more and more. You can say everything you absolutely know about yourself, and sometimes you still aren't going to be able to tell them how you feel.
You
You
never
can't describe. Ineffable that then you go on to other areas where if we're lucky enough, one thing I've been working on is meditating and being able to meditate with another. So you start to kind of connect on an energetic level and you start to feel what they feel.
connect.
And it's something that's so profound because then you're stepping past the boundaries of words and limitations that carry them. You start to like feel this immense love like when you were in the church and you were at this camp, right? And you felt all their energy from the tears and the happiness and the love. Like that was kind of a similar experience to what
And I would
I would like to feel.
I would even say there was this one dude who, I mean, he was kind of known for being like ah, I guess a troublemaker would be a good way to put it. And a lot of people didn't really view him in a good way. And I mean, even before I said anything to the guy, I honestly am guilty of the same, associating
Mm.
him with the things that people were saying. Um,
It's easy to assume.
yeah, but then during the church, I was looking around and it was the most beautiful thing. And he came up to me, bawling his eyes out, and he goes, "How are you doing, man? Are you doing all right?" And I've never met this dude before. And I said, "Yeah, yeah, why?" And he goes, "Here, I'm gonna give you my phone number just in case if you ever want anybody to talk to." And then yeah, and he also gave me his I believe it was his Snapchat. But he was like, "Just in case you ever want anybody to talk to, I know we don't go to the same church, but I'm here for you. Like I love you like a brother." And I've never met this dude before. So
Wow.
I would actually start to see on his stories that he was, even after that moment, going back to the same trouble, right? Kind of smoking a lot of weed and doing maybe worse stuff. He definitely alluded to it. But I definitely saw in that moment, maybe that's who he is on the exterior, is that, but I got to
Yeah.
see his like
You're
actual,
gonna see
his
something
true,
true,
yeah,
something genuine from
yeah,
him that I doubt any of his close buddies got to experience that from him. And honestly, he probably puts on this fake persona to associate with them on a physical level. But when it comes to a deeper sense of self, you can you can be almost friends with absolutely anybody. And
absolutely.
so beautiful. I just
Yeah,
wish we could have more of that.
yeah.
Like, sometimes, dude, I just get so fulfilled that I'll just start saying hi to random people. I'll walk down the street, be like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, "How you doing?"
I'm gonna be honest, I'm guilty of that 24/7 because
Dude,
I work in the environment that I work in, I kind of have to.
yeah.
And so now, like, walking around, it's like I feel like I'm saying hi to people like,
Hey,
"Where do you work?"
we're literally all the same species, like, we're humans. Like, it's so odd to me that we don't engage with each other more often. I know we got our own things going on, but, like, we're literally 99% the same.
Mhm.
Other than our set experiences and, like, small little details,
Yeah.
it's crazy to me, and I just love to love, like, that's one of my favorite lines is, "I love to love."
Mm.
And so, sometimes
Preach.
it's a weakness, sometimes it affects me negatively because I leave myself vulnerable, but then again, I'm grateful to be vulnerable because I'd rather have some vulnerability than just be stone cold Steve Austin kinda situation.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
I know, it kinda just flowed.
In a flow state. It's nice.
Yeah, dude. Flow state. Speaking of flow state, that's actually a really good mental
Well,
level.
you learn a lot in a flow state. You really do.
It's like it comes from somewhere much deeper. Like you just naturally start to
It's a
move
deep
in a way.
realization for sure.
It can come physically, it can
Mhm.
come mentally, like especially for me when I do like journaling or poetry,
Yes,
it
journaling.
it's a flow state. Like I completely let my hands start moving,
Mm.
I let my mind go, and I just start flowing and it's
Yeah,
like word after word, it becomes something beautiful. It's
beautiful
like
thing.
you couldn't have tried to do that. You couldn't have
No,
forced it. And mean, I'm also I do martial arts and stuff with my dad, and when we're training, we're lucky enough that we get to go into these flow states physically.
Mhm.
So we start moving our body and doing things that people are like confused by, that are unheard of, like
Yeah.
creating new stuff. And it's that flow state create is it allows for creativity. It
Yeah.
allows for like just beauty and oh, it's so amazing. How have you experienced flow state?
Well, I often do it. I personally sometimes I have a difficult time in self-reflection. Like I don't always remember things exactly how they are, or I forget. Like I forget, I guess, critical events. And so I always make sure I write things down. So I have like a whole Google Docs where whenever I'm feeling a certain feeling, I write down exactly what I felt, how I felt it, stuff like that. And then I'm like sitting here and like what we were talking about earlier, feeling lost or like the feeling of nothingness. I know we talk about that a lot. um, I kinda was feeling this feeling of loneliness or and kind of nothingness that I haven't felt in a while, and so I was like, I need to write this down, right?" And so I wrote it all down. I wrote down the negatives, the positives, how I got to that, mindset, and how I left that mindset. I got to it by, kind of thinking, about myself insignificantly, like I wasn't good enough, right? And then I got out of it by thinking, "Wait, I'm still living." Right? Like I'm still grateful to at least I have like I have hope and I can change and I have the ability to grow. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't have that, and so
So
I'm grateful to have that.
did you happen to, like, relive any past experiences
Yes.
mentally while you were
Yes.
writing that? Like,
Absolutely.
it brought you back in time, and then you're like, "Wait, I've already moved on from that. This I have the recipe, right?" And it's like, "Well, how am I gonna apply this again?"
Well, that was kind of interesting you bring that up when you're saying I have the recipe because I didn't. I lived through it time and time again, but I just kind of stopped feeling it, right? And then when I was entering this flow state, as we were saying, and I was just writing, I never thought of it that way. I never thought to think, how did I let my mind go to that place and how did my mind leave that place?
So it just came naturally.
It just, well, I was just writing down positive, negatives, and I was like, wait, I just start writing, and then I look back at it, and I was like, "Wait, that's just like that if I would've known this back then, that would've been great, but at least now I know." And then instantly, right when I figured that out, I was like, "I just need to not think of myself insignificantly. I just need to know my own value." Feeling went away. And so I think I even
And
texted you the note sheet that I had on it, and, I mean, it's just that's, I think, an example of, like, being in the flow state and kind of what you can learn from it.
mhm.
But I think even it's kind of hard sometimes to experience that flow state. I think a good way
It's
to do
difficult.
it though.
You can't try to, like,
Yeah,
initiate it.
yeah.
It just comes completely naturally. It's like it's
I think a
I wish I
good
knew more words to, like,
yeah,
explain it, because it's that much of a
it's significant
random there,
for sure,
and it,
and it
like,
is random. Yeah,
but it's so structured at the same
mhm,
time. It's
yeah.
profound. It's one of those mysteries of life that we like to explore.
And I do think of all the or most of the times that I've experienced that kind of flow state was when I was doing some sort of art, journaling, writing. Even I'm not a good drawer, but sometimes I do. And so I have a few little note cards of the stream that I had a long time ago that actually one of the times that it brought me to Christ before I started to kind of lose it again. But a very significant one that right even right now I wouldn't be a believer if I didn't have that dream. But, I wrote down these note cards and I drew them on kind of the dream, like, what I was picturing, right? And so now it's like whenever I begin to forget this significant event that really kind of shaped me, I can just look at it and I remember it. And I mean, I wrote that down in a flow state, and that was just kind of like a form of art. All of it was forms of art. So I think it's very important that somebody could have that form of art. Maybe again, maybe it's drawing, maybe
Yeah.
it's journaling.
It's finding that creativity, that
Yeah.
passion,
Mhm.
and it drives someone. It creates a sense of love because you're doing something, you're making something.
Yeah.
It's from within you.
Yeah.
It's you're really pushing towards something, and you can. I mean, there's so many different forms of art,
Right.
and that's something we really strive for. If we come from God and God is the creator, we obviously have a little bit of creation that we want to put out as well,
Yeah.
because when we come from something, it's just naturally in you, right? he
Mhm.
he he made us in his image and likeness, right?
Mhm.
So in my opinion, I'd like to believe that we have a little bit of that creator inside us as well.
I mean, that's a good way to put it, right? But I mean, yeah, it's just being able to create those sort of things and being able to enter that flow state. Not only can it help, I guess, show an image to somebody so they could picture the, I guess kind of what you're saying, and be able to see, um, like maybe it relates to them, if that makes any sense. But it's also, I mean, a very deep realization point for yourself. So if you struggle with self-reflection, if you struggle with anything like that, then I think it's a good way to go on. I mean, it's a beautiful way of art. You have something to kind of, I don't really want to say show for your life, but it's something you can be proud of, right?
Mhm.
And it's also something that you create that natural flow state and you create that natural self-reflection just by writing or drawing or, I mean, even creating this podcast, right? So
Definitely.
I
I mean, this is creativity right here. We're really just flowing. Most of the times, the things I say to you in this podcast, they just kind of come naturally.
yeah.
And then when I try too hard, it's like I lose what I'm saying, and then I get a little gibberish. You guys might catch it
Mhm.
here and there, but when I really am flowing and feeling it, and I don't even have to like try to push it out, and when it comes from what I've learned and what I've grown from and my personal experiences, is it comes more smoothly. And
Yeah.
I think that's just beautiful. And that's what it's all about,
Mhm.
honestly. And I don't know, Dylan, but do you think that's a good place?
I think that's a good place to stop it. I really don't want to now.
I know.
Going in a
I
spot.
wanna keep going. I wanna just keep pushing.
Well,
Oh,
please, guys, stay like I'm. Hopefully, you guys made it this far. We're really appreciative of all of it. We're trying to get our podcast up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We're
mhm.
trying to get a community on
TikTok,
our Discord
Instagram,
going.
Discord.
Yeah.
We have our Gmail, like we told you guys in the beginning. Really, please reach out. Please talk to us. When you guys start seeing us showing up around YouTube, TikTok, and
That's
Instagram,
prayers. That's prayers right there.
trust me, guys, we're gonna have this community. You guys could all join, talk to each other, learn from each other, right? It's like I've always searched for like those certain communities over Reddit or Discord, right? And trying to like be able to connect with people
Fine.
because it's hard to find even in person. It's almost impossible, right?
Oh no.
Like I probably found maybe 5 people in my entire life.
I would say you're one of the only few that I've met that are actually willing to go into this deep reflection. I mean, there was one person that I met a while ago that I guess when I first met him, he wasn't in that kind of mindset. But
Mhm.
then as we talked, he kind of began to become, I guess, moved by it. And then I used to talk to him a lot about this kind of stuff.
You're definitely one of the more advanced ones, I'd say, who are like still actively engaging and pushing through.
You can't really, I mean, it's not like an advanced thing that you couldn't have.
And
It's
well,
just,
I guess more along the process, like still actively engaged, not falling back as much as I'd like to think, or still
but
living for the world.
hopefully.
Hopefully,
We'll see
I
how
think so. I
we'll
think
see how the future goes.
pretty well.
Hopefully. All right.
But yeah,
Thank you
thank
guys
you
so
so
much
much.
for listening. We really hope you guys enjoy. And if you guys didn't, please email us for feedback. If you guys did, please email us for feedback. Everything is welcome. So
Fast mind, open soul, love and light, guys.
thank you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Bye.